What are you trying to enjoy on this company trip? Come on, the old single male employees have to work.
Despair overwhelms me as I am assigned more work. Sigh. I looked towards Mr. Sanders, who was laughing on the other side of the closed door. The work clearly consisted of materials for Mr. Sanders's project, and when I finally finished and took a breath, I looked at the clock and realized it was time for the party to begin. Just as I started to prepare to leave, the intercom rang. Wondering who it could be at this hour, I opened the door to find a pale-faced individual standing there who grabbed my hand and begged me, "Oh, please come quickly. I have been working at this company since graduating from university, and at the age of mid-40s, I am still a single, ordinary employee. However, even so I am trusted by my superiors because I am a gentle person and I do my job diligently. That alone is enough, and I am satisfied with my current situation. But while everyone around me is getting married, I am the only one left behind. There is a reason why I remain single. 10 years ago, I was in a relationship with a girl. We were both strongly attracted to each other and had even made promises of marriage. She was very cheerful and had a charming personality that everyone loved. She was 5 years younger than me, but she was so mature and had a strong sense of self. Since we started living together, we had more fights, but each time we were able to face each other and discuss until we were satisfied, and I think we were able to respect each other. One day, the day before we were to register our marriage, something happened.
Is this Thomas Carter? Please come to this hospital as soon as possible.
My girlfriend, who had said she was going shopping after work, hadn't come back. Just as I picked up my cell phone to call her, the call came in from the emergency room, and I ran out of the house, not understanding what was happening. "Excuse me, I am Carter." The nurse took me to the emergency room. Inside was my girlfriend, connected to tubes and in a painful state. She was apparently hit by a drunk driver on her way home and was already in critical condition when she was taken here. I slowly approached her and gently held her hand. For a moment, she opened her eyes, shed a single tear, and exhaled as if she had been relieved. Then her eyes closed, and the sound of machines echoed. The doctor who rushed in performed cardiopulmonary resuscitation, but she was confirmed dead soon after. I still love her the same after that day. So, I have no intention of getting married to anyone else from now on. Even if I am looked down upon for being single or worried about by those around me, my wife will always be her for life. My life as a company employee was very peaceful. People were kind, and I could work at my own pace. However, my peace was taken away one day when a younger employee suddenly came to work for us.
I will be in your care starting today. My name is Sanders.
The new employee said. He was a younger employee who was suddenly assigned to the company. Sanders was famous for his achievements in his first year of employment. As an elite, he had been active on the front lines. However, he was transferred to our department because he had not been able to produce any significant achievements since then. He had the presence about him in his early 30s. Just by looking at him, one could tell that he was confident. Sanders began to evaluate the employees in the General Affairs Department, where I worked, as soon as he arrived. He judged each of us, saying, "That person types slowly," or "This person's tone of voice on the phone is too high." It was not a good evaluation, and we all felt uncomfortable. It seemed that he particularly targeted me, pointing out that I was still a single, non-management level employee and gaining a sense of superiority by bullying me. His behavior, as if he were trying to boost his own self-affirmation, was also pitiful. Some of the words he threw at me were extremely hurtful, but I tried not to let it bother me. Then, one day, our company's sales were good, and after a few years, we were finally able to go on a company trip. 2 days, 1 night trip at Inn at Hot Spring Resort. The inn is run by a business partner, and they have rented it out so that all employees and their families can stay there. About half of the employees participate in this employee trip with their families. Of course, since the company covers all expenses, many employees participate more as a family trip than an employee trip. On the morning of the trip, among the many buses lined up, the happy voices of families enjoying themselves could be heard echoing with happiness. Mr. Sanders, who married the daughter of an executive a few years ago, brought his wife and 3-year-old daughter with him. He even boarded the bus for single people and bragged to them, saying, "It is great to have a family. If you're a man, you have to get married. Even if you're a woman, it's a waste if you don't have children." The family boasting and sarcasm toward single people was just terrible. His wife was a beautiful woman and seemed embarrassed. He even didn't care about his daughter's ill temper and led his family around like it was his prized possession even after arriving at the inn.
I heard that Mr. Sanders and his wife met at a matchmaking meeting, but if she's treated like that, it's a waste because she's so beautiful.
I think so too. She apologized to everyone after we got off the bus for his rude behavior, but he thinks she's happy just because she's with him. He is so full of himself.
The women on the bus discussed Sanders' statement and his wife's subsequent behavior. I was sure that if he found out that they were talking about these things, he would be very angry. I looked at Mr. Sanders still waving his family around and felt sorry for him, wondering why he did not notice the tired expressions on the faces of his wife and children standing behind him. There was a planned banquet that evening. Before the banquet, Sanders came to see me as I was leaving the room with my roommates. He held a computer that I used at work and a bag containing documents separately.
What, are you trying to enjoy a company trip? Of course you have to work. The single middle-aged employee has to work.
Hopelessness swept over me at the work that had been forced upon me. My colleague who had argued that it was too pitiful to push the work on to me leave after I had placated them by saying, "Just forget about it. Everyone should have fun. I'll make sure it's finished in time for the party," and refused their help. On the other side of the closed door, Sanders was laughing, and I let out a sigh. Clearly, the work consisted entirely of documents belonging to Sanders' project. I had thought that he hadn't been working before the trip he was looking forward to, but I hadn't expected him to dump everything on me. The trip I had been looking forward to was now completely ruined. However, I thought that if I didn't hurry up and start working on the deadline that was approaching, the company would bear the burden, so I regained my composure and opened my computer to start working. I finally finished, took a breather, and checked the time, only to find that it was already time for the party to start. I wanted to drink a little bit of alcohol, so I replied to my colleague's message asking, "Are you still not here?" With "I am going now," and started preparing, but then the doorbell rang. I thought it was someone else, but when I opened the door, Sanders' face was pale and he grabbed my hand, pleading, "Please come quickly." I asked what happened, but he didn't answer and just insisted that I follow him. As we were taken to the party venue, I couldn't hear the lively voices that should have been there. Instead, I heard the anxious voice of the president and the quiet, angry voice of a woman.
We cannot continue to do business with a company where laughter arises from insulting employees.
Chairman, please do something about it. We are sorry and regretful that our employees spoke inappropriate words. We intend to take appropriate measures. Would you please reconsider our business relationship?
When I entered the party room, I saw the president bowing his head and a woman with an angry expression. I looked at the woman and was astonished. "Mrs. Green."
Thomas, has your work finished?
Mrs. Green smiled at me and laughed. She was the mother of my deceased girlfriend. I knew she ran a company, but I didn't know she was the chairman of this inn.
Carter, I'm sorry. I was surprised to learn that you were made to work even during the employee trip. Sanders was rude. I'm really sorry.
The president explained the situation to me. According to what the president explained, Sanders was the MC in the lively banquet hall. During the toast, he mentioned about me, and since he had already had a few drinks and was in a good mood, he speculated that I was still just a junior employee, unmarried and pitiable, and even had strange tastes. Apparently, the place was wrapped in laughter. His wife tried to stop him in a panic, but she was pushed aside, and I became the center of attention without knowing it, becoming the subject of ridicule. There were also employees who frowned and stood up uncomfortably in the midst of these conversations. Nevertheless, the fictional story continued to heat up. In the middle of that, the president and some important people from our business partners appeared. As expected, Sanders also stopped his speech and became quiet when the president appeared. After the angry president gave a greeting, she said, "Please enjoy yourselves, including your families," and quietly expressed her anger, asking, "But what was the speech earlier?" Sanders hurriedly apologized, but when he was asked why I wasn't here, my colleague told the story, and chairman glared at Sanders, saying they would cancel the deal. The chairman then said that it was the company I was working for that pushed this deal forward, and that I was the fiancé of her deceased daughter, who she still held dear, and that he would always come to offer incense on her death anniversary. She expressed gratitude that I was an important person who did not forget her daughter and her daughter's memory. Therefore, when she came to see me this time, she was looking forward to it, but she heard the earlier speech. She felt that Sanders was insulting someone who was important to her. The president froze up at those words and told Sanders to come and apologize to me. However, I haven't received an apology yet, and everyone there waited for those words of apology.
I am sorry.
Finally, those words were heard, and when the lowered face was raised, it seemed like he was staring at me with dissatisfaction. At that expression, the president became angry, and the chairman sighed quietly. I almost reacted to the words whispered even smaller, "What is wrong with pure love?" But before I could, his wife rushed over and slapped Sanders' cheek with all her might. The sudden event caused a commotion, but his wife said,
"What is wrong with pure love? Enough of your attitude when you're the one at fault. Cut it out already. Enough is enough. We have evidence of your affair. Let's get divorced."
Then, the photos that his wife exposed were pictures of Sanders entering a hotel with a young woman and pictures of him arm in arm with another woman who looked friendly. Sanders suddenly became emotional with those photos and the announcement of their divorce. The banquet hall became chaotic. In the midst of all this, the chairman proposed a condition for continuing the deal to the president. The condition was that they wanted to recruit me. The room began to stir even more at those words, because the company I was recruited by was famous for only recruiting the most selective elites.
We need honest people like you in our company. We want to welcome you as a straightforward person who never betrays others. There is no one in our company who would laugh at your situation. We want you to work with us.
In response to the chairman's words, the other executives present nodded with a good-natured smile. I don't hate my current company. I had a peaceful time before Sanders came, and I like my colleagues. That's why I'm hesitating, but my colleagues encouraged me, saying, "It is a great opportunity. Go for it." So, I decided to gratefully accept their proposal, and told the chairman that I really want to work with them. The chairman was pleased with my response and appointed me to be in charge of future transactions, leaving me to remain connected to the company in the future. The negotiations have been successfully concluded. Mr. Sanders finally changed his attitude after his wife asked for a divorce. The colleagues who laughed at me at that time apologized for making fun of me. As I had already decided to change jobs the following month, I visited the chairman's house again to express my gratitude. I put my hands together in front of my girlfriend, who still smiles in the photo, and remember the nostalgic days.
Nancy looks so happy to have met you. Since the day that she was taken away by a sudden accident, you always brought the flowers and cake that she loved on the anniversary of the death. We were saved by you, who spoke to us in front of the Buddhist altar as if she was right in front of you. Thank you so much for continuing to remember us. It makes me so happy, but I want you to try living your own life now. I think Nancy would want that too.
Tears flowed down on my cheeks as she spoke. When I deeply bowed my head to express my gratitude, I felt as if I were being stroked on the head and thanked by my dear girlfriend who had passed away. When I looked up suddenly, the cherry blossom petals that she loved were dancing beautifully outside the window, as if they were saying